But the one thing that they really didn't do at all was that they really did not look after the women of Afghanistan the way they should have. They actually erased us, the women, completely. We are disappearing from Afghanistan, really. All the women are disappearing. And the disappearing of the woman is in a way that we are not allowed to study, we are not allowed to go anywhere, we are not allowed to be with people, people are not supposed to see us any place. We are shut down completely. And it is amazing the way it's been done. Yesterday, I tried to go to Karga for a little drive. Yesterday, I went because I was invited in Parmon. I'm actually going to Parmon. Now, that's another thing. People cannot go to Parmon. Can you believe it, Simijan? You know where Parmon is. And you know, everybody in Kabul in the summertime, they were going to Parmon because that's a place that's a bit cooler. Families with their wives, with their daughters, with their mothers, with their sisters, everything. Now, you cannot do that. And then on the way back from Parmon, we decided, I asked the driver, I said, drive me through Karga. I cannot, I went there and we drove and I cannot believe it. There is not a single woman, not one, in the whole of Karga Lake, around it, the houses, everything. Not one. They're not allowed to be there. And the way we went, we could not come back from that way. Because I don't know how they allowed me, because I'm a white-haired woman and my driver begged and they let me go through, but they said, don't come back.
So the reason they said don't come back, Mahbouba, was because you were a woman?
Yes. I used to go there a lot because there was a huge a villa there that belonged to a friend, and I used to go there and spend some time in the afternoons or the whole of the Jummah day, or we would go to other friends, bars, the area that they have, where they for the family, and the families would go and we would take some food with us, we would eat, and we would enjoy it with family. It's a very family place. Extremely.
Yes, I have been there, and I remember it's a family place, it's a picnic place, it's a place of happiness and freedom in the middle of a war.
Yeah, especially because it's cooler. So for the summer, it's the best place actually for the families and women to be in there because it's cooler. So what is going on? Really, we are not allowed to be in our country anymore for one thing or another. It's the most unbelievable situation. It really is. But now, the women, this is the way they are treated. They're treated like that. They're treated like non-human. Absolutely non-human.
That's a very strong word to use, non-humans.
Yeah.
Is that really what you feel like?
That's right. Yeah. We are officially second-class citizens. Officially. So you can imagine. And it's all because they want to protect us? Really? How is that? I had a shelter that I was looking after the abused women of Afghanistan. And my shelter was open since 2003. They closed it in December of 2025. Simijan, once that shelter closed, it was like somebody actually stabbed me in my heart. 33 of my women and girls and children that I have been giving my heart and soul to keep them safe, to keep them protected, to keep them around so I could find a solution for them, they were all taken away. And my heart broke so badly, that for 6 months, I swear to you, I could not get out of my bed. I could not see people. I could not do anything. I was half a woman. I was half a Mahbouba, really. And then I went to see my family, my sister and my brother in the US, and they took one look at me and they said, "What are you trying to do? You're going to kill yourself. You're going to die." And then after that, I realized that with all my commitment and my love for Afghanistan and the fact that I wanted to be with my sisters, but I cannot. They won't let me work on it.
But
So
Mahbouba, it's very tough to hear what you're telling me, and sorry, I'm getting all emotional because that shelter I have visited several times, and I have seen the important work people and women have been doing there for their sisters, and really touches me that when you say that you've been erased from the society. And I mean, for people who are here, it's very difficult to understand the impact on the women's lives in Afghanistan. Could you try to explain
the way we are erased? For example, first of all, the fact that I'm sitting in front of you right now. I don't have my chadar on or anything, but that's I have my white hair. I really don't need a chadar.
Well, that's my question. How can you sit without your headscarf in Kabul right now?
Because my hair is white. I have a white hair, and with my white hair, I don't have to cover it. According to Islam, I don't have to cover it.
But according to Taliban, you have to cover it.
Yeah, but I'm sitting here in front of you, and I'm doing this because I'm sick and tired of it. How much of all the things that were ours is not going to be ours anymore? How much of it? How much of it? Like everything, right? So all of these women, so number one, they cannot work. Number two, the ones that can go to school or learn something, or learn a skill even, they cannot learn. They are not allowed. From the 1st to the 6th grade, they are allowed. From the 6th onwards, they are not. For a while, from the 6th to the 12th grade, they were not allowed, but universities were on. But then they closed the universities too. So now there's no education. Now what is happening? There is a talk that they are looking into the madrasas for girls, and they're going to close that too.
And madrasas is the Islamic education system where you learn the Quran and the Islamic values.
Right. Even those are going to be closed for women.
So until now, the girls could go to the madrasa and not learn about science and mathematics, but learn about Islamic and Quran. So that is also closing.
They are working on it.
But why? I don't understand that. I mean, because in the Quran, Mahbouba, it doesn't say that girls are not allowed to get an education. In the Quran, it says every Muslim has an obligation to gain knowledge, women and men, right?
Islam started by Allah saying to Muhammad, "Iqra, bi'ismi rabbika allazi." Iqra. In other words, read. Read. How can you read? How can you read if you don't know anything, if you're not allowed? Well, that Iqra, it was not said to the men alone. It was said to everybody. Everybody. In Islam, there is no difference between men and women. Allah did not send, his words to women in one way, to men in another way. No. Only when He has said some of the things for women that are for women, and some of the things that are for men, they are for men. But these things, education, the right to raise their children, the right to choose a husband, no. These things are theirs. This is for them, especially education. Especially education.
So how can Taliban justify all these restrictions when they say it's according to Islam? It's the religion. They use the religion as a tool.
That's their interpretation, and nobody can argue. That's the thing about Islam. They are doing that interpretation the way they are, and they are. And the conferences that took place, and they are taking place all over the world, everywhere, with all of the Muslims, with the Muslim communities of Indonesia, of Pakistan, of the whole of the northern African countries, of Egypt, of Syria, of Iran, of all of them. They don't want to agree. They don't. So what can we do? All the women are asking these questions, but we are not allowed. They don't want to hear our voices. The only reason that my voice can be heard once in a while is because I'm old. I have white hair, and I'm 78 years old, and I'm an old woman. So when they, in the eyes of the men, I'm a Buddha, and that's fine, and I'm very happy. Truly.
And they say, "Oh well, she's an old lady. Let her just scream."
Yeah, just let her be.
And then how do you say to them that it's wrong what they are? Tell us about how you communicate and what you say, because I know you're very outspoken.
Anytime when my outspokenness in Afghanistan, it's really not useful because these people don't listen. don't listen. They don't want to come face to face to me to listen. There's no listening. Women can't, when they talk, they are not listened to. Period. So
but how do you manage? But how do you manage? Then what do you do,
Mahbouba? The only women they are listening to are the foreign women.
Oh.
The foreign women they are listening to. The Muslim women are not. The Afghan women definitely are not. So yeah, so this is it.
But
so
how do you manage, Mahbouba? Then how do you, I mean, so if they don't listen, I mean, so you cannot go to a meeting at the ministry or talk to them? I mean, how, but...
No. The only way that that's what I'm saying, that I have to leave now, because it's useless, because I really don't count. It's absolutely useless. It's because for the time, until the time when I had my shelter and my girls were safe. So at least that part of it was something that was done because I wanted it, and it was mine, and it was under my control, and I could do it. And they allowed me to that point. And then when they were ready to take it, they came and took it.
How did they take it? How did they close it? How did they close the shelter?
By force. They brought buses and they took the women and girls and all of the older women and children by force. And everybody left screaming. And it was a day I will never forget for as long as I live. Or as long as I live. I almost died that day. I almost died. My heart stopped almost. I could not believe it. I could not believe what I was hearing and what I was feeling. My girls, and they were all saying mother. And I kept on saying, I am their mother, for God's sakes. Most of these girls for 12, 13, or 10 years, that's the woman they have seen, me. And they call me mother, so let me talk to them. Nobody listened to me. Nobody listened.
Mahbouba, what happened to these girls?
They're gone to a place, they're safe. They're safe, I should say. They're safe, thank God. They've gone to the Aladdin, do you remember Aladdin orphanage? They had room to put these ladies there.
But have you seen them since? Have you talked to them? How are they doing?
No, they didn't allow me to. I am not allowed to go and see them. I'm not allowed. I haven't seen my girls.
Can you tell us a little bit about who these girls are? I mean, their stories. I mean, just so people understand what is at stake.
They're mostly women, young women, and girls and young girls, and girls that they've run away from home because of the abuse situation in their families, and the abuse was either by their fathers, by their brothers, by their uncles, by their in-laws, the ones that they were married, or by their in-laws, and the abuse is, and sometimes in the families is not necessarily only by men, it's, by women too, unfortunately. So all of them, they were pushed to forced marriages and things like that, and they run away from them. And they came to us, and we looked after them, because in those days, because there was a law for protection of women, they were lawyers, and we have hired lawyers for them. There was a court system, there was a police system, everything. Those systems, we fought for it, the parliament of Afghanistan, with the governments, and tried to, put it in action, and everything was accepted. We really worked hard, the women of Afghanistan, for all of that. They really did.
Oh yes, I know.
We all arranged that. We all set it up. It was a whole institutionalized, the whole thing. But then it was gone. And now they're gone.
But when you talk about the laws and the regulations, I mean, recently there have been so many new laws and new restrictions. Can you explain that to us? What do they mean?
Those laws don't exist anymore. Those lawyers don't exist anymore. Those court systems don't exist anymore. Absolutely. It's completely different. It's another system. I don't know what it is.
And the new system, I mean, the new system, Taliban is writing like all these decrees and these things and that. Can you explain to us what is actually going on?
150 decrees, and out of those 150 or 150 something decrees, most of them are for women.
Tell
More
us,
than
what is
100
it?
of
What
them
is
are
it?
for women. Well, everything, about their right to educate, about their right to go to the doctor, about the right that they cannot walk on the streets alone, about the right of what kind of a clothing they should wear, about the right to, about their voices that should not be heard, about the voice of the noise of their shoes. If they're making a noise, that's bad. Then of course, if their voice is heard, that's even terrible. And they cannot go to the doctor. They cannot leave their husbands' houses, even to go to their parents and to go and visit them. That has to be very limited, and they cannot go alone. They have to go with somebody, and they cannot go to the parks. They cannot go and visit a doctor. They cannot do anything. They cannot learn skills. They cannot, of course, go to school. They cannot work. Nothing.
And also, I read something about that if a woman wants to get divorced, she has to get the approval of her husband.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
And if the husband is beating her, she has to prove it. And the
That's
husband
right.
is actually allowed to, according to the decree, to beat his wife if it's not like visible or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
But Mahbouba, that makes me just think that, I mean, before the Taliban came back, right, before 5 years ago, Afghanistan was one of the most like poor countries in the world with a lot of difficulties, and it was a place which was a very hard place to be a woman. There was violence against women. I mean, you know
That's
that
it.
from your shelter.
That's
So,
it. That's it.
what I'm trying to understand is that. So Taliban is making decrees that you can beat your wife, but that used to happen before as well. So is it the
It was.
same or
It was.
what?
No, but the only difference is that, no, these things have been going on in Afghanistan. So it's not something that the Taliban brought. No, definitely. This thing, unfortunately, is kind of engraved in our society. But the one thing that it was is that in those days, especially at the time of the Republic, with all of the faults and all of the nastiness of the Republic that it brought us to finally to this day, still, the voices of the women could be heard. If they had a complaint, if there was something, because we were all there. Our voices was heard. We would go to places. We could go and raise our voice. We would talk about it. We would go and complain. We would raise it in the parliament. We would really have. There were some people that they were listening to, and then the world was listening to. And the world did not give all of its money to Afghanistan for Afghanistan to go down the drain. So they were trying to help also. So they were listening as well. So our men were listening also. So we are trying to work it out, make something to work in a way that will be, how shall I say, will be for the culture and for the religion of Afghanistan and the woman and everybody acceptable, so everybody can live with it. It was nothing fantastic. No, not at all. But the one thing that was going on in those days, it was education. Because you had the women, they were being educated. The girls, they were being educated. So that changes a whole mindset. The mindset that today does not change. Not the way it should. With one class here and one class there, it doesn't. In a country, we need to have this for a majority of women. And the majority of women to be involved and finally make a difference has to be more than 33% at least. At least. That is not happening now. It's finished. So that's what it is. Now imagine a mother in where you are, in Denmark. A mother in Denmark is, I cannot give the example of Denmark really, because Denmark and Sweden and Norway, you are all the most advanced countries of the world when it comes to equality of women and men and all of that, and access to equality. I know that. That's not the case. Europe, someplace in Europe, a French, a German, an Italian mother who sees her daughter sitting at home every single day crying and cannot get to go and study because it's just not possible. So how is that? She cannot study. She's not allowed. So that father and mother should look at her every single day that she's crying her eyes out, and they're not, So this is the way it is.
And what are these mothers and daughters and fathers telling you? I mean, how are they dealing with the situation?
They're saying it's becoming so, they're so heartbroken. Because what they do, of course, the best way out, of course, in this situation, well, let's marry our girls and let's marry them early. And the mothers have to do that because they're protecting those daughters of theirs. And they want to marry them off to the first guy that comes and they know them. They marry them.
And what do you mean by Mahbouba? What do you mean by they're protecting their daughters by marrying them off in an early age?
Yeah, because of, otherwise who's going to marry them? God only knows. Taliban are going to come and marry them. Somebody's going to marry them by force. What? That's going to happen. So whenever they get somebody from the family and they can marry their daughters, they marry them off.
So the consequences are that we have girls. I mean, even before this happened, the girls got married in a quite early age. That age has been decreased, and we're also seeing like childbirth, like kids giving births.
Yeah.
I mean, in a situation where Mahbouba, I think it's so important to explain to people where there are lack of female doctors and female nurses. Can you explain to us what does that mean in a country like Afghanistan for especially the rural areas, but for female health altogether, that the female doctors and nurses are missing?
Unbelievable. Right now, the famine, for the child malnutrition. The child malnutrition is so high in Afghanistan as it's in the highest at this point that has ever been, malnutrition for the children. At the same time, these kids that they are born from young mothers. Of course, they are born with lots of defects, physical defects, and the fact that they are not complete. Their whole they cannot complete in the stomach of their mother is not, they're not there long enough or right enough. The mother is not eating properly, is not looking after herself. There is nobody to look at them. So we have all of these kids also, and those young mothers, and there's no doctors, and there are no nurses, and there's no medication. This is unbelievable. And what I'm wondering is that how the world can forget us. How can we be forgotten by the world, for God's sakes? How? This is chaotic. It's really chaotic. And it's going to get worse. Before it gets any better, it's going to get worse.
How can it get worse than this?
Well, it will. When the people start dying. Oh yeah. Because this malnutrition thing is not a joke.
Yeah, according to UN, several million kids are in risk of malnutrition and are starving. And we also have to remember Afghanistan is still one of the poorest countries in the world. And we also have to remember that there are still sanctions against the regime in Afghanistan, which is affecting people's livelihood and their stomachs. Mahbouba, I mean, you just touched upon it. And I really want you, and I think many people want this answer from you as well. Whose responsibility is it that the women of Afghanistan are in this situation right now?
Very good question. Very good question. The women of Afghanistan, the reason why they're in this situation right now, in my mind, is the fault of the world, the Taliban, because the Taliban promised in the beginning that they were not going to do that. They were going to be very fair and very different this time towards the women, which they didn't keep their words. It's the world that did not hold, because they could have held the Taliban responsible and to their words, because they gave those words to the men and people that they went to Doha. They didn't keep the words. And the international community to a point, because they gave up on us. And then, of course, our poverty.
But is there anything the international community can do? I mean, is there anything that the world community can do to change the situation?
I don't know, sweetie. I have a very funny feeling that right now is too late. It really is. Because things have settled. You know, when I came to Norway in 2022, things were very different in Norway when I was in that meeting with everybody. There was hope. There really was hope. And I kept on saying to everybody, to the Norwegians, to the world actually, in that meeting, I said, whatever it is that you're doing and you're going to do it now. Because the more we let this whole thing take a hold and take a hold of itself and take a hold of itself in the country, this whole system is going to get a life of its own. And once it gets a life of its own, that's the way the world is. Once it gets a life of its own, it's going to be very hard to change it. And that's the truth, honey. Whatever we want to do in the world, as far as anything is concerned, we have to do it in the beginning, before whatever it is getting taking a life of its own. Once it takes a life of its own, then it has its own cycle. It has its own everything. Its own everything. Then it won't even go according to what everybody thought or what everybody promised or what everybody could see or foresee or whatever. No, it won't. Because everything else in the world will affect it in such a ways that will be out of the control of everybody. It's above and beyond human beings' power to change it. Because that is the power of its own. That's why in the world until now, always, the power of people is very important. If we only knew how important it is and how powerful we really are. If we could stand for something and at the time when the damage is done and try to fix it right there and then.
Do you feel that the world, I remember all these ministers and prime ministers and presidents and I mean all these world leaders throughout the years I was in Afghanistan saying again and again, we'll stand side by side with the Afghan women, we will be there till the end. I mean, at some point it was also one of the reasons for the war, we are there to help the women's situation, make democracy. Do you feel that you've been completely let down by the world?
Absolutely. 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 But I can't say anything anymore because at the same time, I do believe that it's also our fault. The fault of the people of Afghanistan. As people, we couldn't do it. We couldn't hold on. It's been too hard for our men. Our women are doing it, but for our men, it's becoming very hard.
Can you elaborate on that? Because sometimes people ask me, if people do not like Taliban, why don't they just go out and protest and do something? Can you explain what the situation is?
Well, first of all, Afghanistan, don't forget, it's a country that has been at war in the past 46 years. In past 46 years of war in a country is not a joke. You know, it's the generations after generations that have been born and raised in war and killing and destruction. That does to the psyche of human beings something really terrible. That's number one. Number two, right now, whatever happens to a family, you know, because Afghanistan is extremely, you know, the family dynamics in Afghanistan and is very important. And the family, the male in the family, the father or the grandfather or even the brother, the big brother if is there, or the husband or whoever, you know, they're trying to hold on to their family, but if their family falls apart because of anything, like the woman is taken by the, you know, by the government and they're being put into jail, or because, you know, whatever. These things really affects the family very badly. What happens? It affects them so much that they, you know, the shame of it because they have been taken out of their houses after their families and they've been put in jail. And after that, the woman cannot go back to their families because their families will not accept them because God only knows what happened to you in that jail, number one. Number two, if the men get involved, they're going to kill the men.
So if, I mean, recently there was this incident which was in the international social media as well, where some women were arrested in the streets for not wearing proper hijab, but they were wearing hijab. That escalated into people going on the street to protest about the arrests, and they were like, stopped and shut down and violently beaten. So what you are saying is that, so those women who ended up in jail, when they come back, they're excluded from the family?
Usually, yeah. Especially if it's a young girl, yeah. 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 It becomes very hard for the family to accept it. Yeah. Very hard.
Because I don't understand it.
Because the culture does not allow it. According to the Afghan culture, the name of that girl has been destroyed. The family honor has been damaged.
But if she didn't do anything, she was just on the street and she was caught. Yeah.
I know that.
Yeah.
But their parents might know it also. But the neighbors, no.
The neighbor might think she was doing something wrong, and what happened in the jail, exactly. Maybe she was doing something.
Exactly. I know, my dear. This is what it is.
But Mahbouba, you're sitting here and very outspoken. Thank you so much for that. For those who are still with us, thank you. This is live from Kabul. This is extraordinary that we have connection. You have electricity. There's a lot of electricity shortages and problems with the internet. So I'm so happy this is happening. And just for those who do not know Mahbouba Seraj, as I have introduced her in my intro as well, is by Time magazine one of the 100 most influential people in the world. And you can hear how outspoken you are and you keep fighting. But Mahbouba, is this conversation, I'm worried that it will create you problems.
Well, possible, very possible. I know. But as I said that to the Taliban or to whoever listened to me, this is a part of something I do. See me. This is my job. This is my my commitment. This is my commitment. I have to be the voice, or I want to be, and I have been the voice of the voiceless women of Afghanistan. This is what I do. I'm not saying anything.
Why is it so important to you?
Because somebody has to listen to them. We have to have someone that listens to them, for God's sakes. They cannot be yelling and screaming because of hunger. They cannot be yelling and screaming because their children are dying. They cannot be yelling and screaming because they don't have anything. They cannot be doing that. They cannot be doing that only. Somebody has to raise their voice and say they are really, really somewhere and they are absolutely dying. Somebody has to help them. Our people, our men, everybody. This is what it is. I cannot. I really cannot, honey. It's killing me. It was killing me. It's been killing me the whole time. I've been in Afghanistan for 23 years. I've been working. I worked.
Mahbouba, I wish I could hold your hand right now. I'm holding your hand right now, Mahbouba Jan. I'm holding your hand and I'm sending you so much strength and love. And I think everyone is doing that because we all are suffering with you, because we cannot accept in the world that there are women who are being silenced and put aside in a society like you are. And we are all crying with you, Mahbouba Jan, and people are sending hearts and loves right now. And I think this is a wake-up call to us that right now I'm sitting in one of the most free countries in the world, and you are sitting in the country which is the worst place for a woman. I don't think the gap could be bigger than this, and I'm really heartbroken to hear your stories.
I'm sorry, I couldn't control myself because I'm really broken heart. I really am. I don't know I'm going to get the chance to finally, to be leaving Afghanistan or not. I don't know. But I am planning to. I cannot do it anymore. I'm like broken. I'm broken. I'm broken. In Afghanistan, broken.
But so you're leaving Afghanistan?
I'm leaving Afghanistan. Yeah. I cannot do it anymore. You think I can live like this? Especially after my shelter is closed. I can't do anything for women. I'm not allowed to do anything. Nothing, 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 nothing.
I want to invite everybody right now. I think we need a moment of silence, and I want to connect globally right now, and we all have to connect. So please, can we just for a moment close our eyes and just visualize that we are holding each other's hand. Mahbouba, I'm holding your hand, and I can feel your warmth and your love, and you're such a beautiful person, and I admire you, and I want everybody to hold each other's hands and send a lot of love to all the women of Afghanistan and all the girls who are crying right now because they're not allowed to go to school. They're not allowed to go for a walk in the park. For all the women who had ambitions and dreams like the rest of us, who are now being silenced and ignored. I think we have to believe that we can send love to each other. I think, Mahbouba, we admire you and we respect you, and we hope that you can feel that we are
Thank
connected.
Thank you, sweetheart.
Yeah, we're sending you love because
that's what I need. That's the only, this world, I do believe in love so much, so much. That's the only thing that can really save us, and we can survive if we feel that in our hearts.
Mahbouba, I just remember, some of the conversations that I've had with other of your sisters who've been fighting for women's rights and who've been, doing all this hard work. You've been doing all this hard work. I remember our common friend, Maria Krami, who you of course know. Yeah. I asked her one day, I said, you get threats and it's so hard for you because we can see you invest everything in this, and what can the world do for you? I mean, why do you keep doing this? And as you are saying, if I don't do it, who else will do it? And it's my obligation. If I have a voice, I have to raise my voice. I think that is the most courageous thing I have ever heard. But one thing which makes me really sad right now is that many of you guys have always told me that we keep fighting because we know we have a hope, there's a light, and we know we have the support of the international community. We have them in our back.
Yeah. And also the women of the world, honey. When I keep on talking to the women of the world and I say, please don't think that any woman in this world is separate from any other woman and from yourself. Don't. Because there is so much that we have in common. From anywhere in the world that we are, from anywhere in the world, even in the three best countries of the world, there's so much that we have in common as women. And as women, we are the only ones that we can support each other, and we should not forget that. Women should stand for women, behind women, by women, and really work with them, because that's the only way.
Mahbouba, I totally agree with you. What can we women in Denmark do to help the women of Afghanistan as now?
Darling, you have done so much, actually. Don't think that you haven't. The people of Denmark have done enough and a lot for the women of Afghanistan. And I'm sure right now still there's your organizations that they are working, in Afghanistan. But once I get to the United States, and once I am hopefully, inshallah, if they let me and I'm still alive, and I'll get there, then I will get in touch with you and I will tell you what you can do. Because I don't want to stop, helping the women of Afghanistan because I'm going to be away. No. It's just that I cannot take every day's pressure anymore. That's why I have to leave. Because that's what is actually killing me now. It's becoming too much because of my age, because of my health. I'm not 100%.
And Mahbouba, you have done more than you could and you have to, because no human beings can, throughout those years, be under so much pressure and still keep raising their voice when no one is listening. So this calling to do something for your Afghan sisters and be a voice for them, where does it come from? Why?
You know, I think I talked about something like that once before. I was asked. I really do believe my mom has a lot to do with this. I had a mother. She was a small built, the most beautiful. I mean, she was absolutely gorgeous, that lady. Well, my father was very good looking too.
You are good looking too, mashallah.
You know, the whole family, we were blessed by that. But my mother, not only that, she was one of the most courageous women I have ever seen. You know, in Afghanistan of those days, she was driving, and nobody could stop that little woman. She was unbelievable. She was going and doing her thing, helping the people the way she was doing, taking their complaints to the ministries and going and talking to the minister. And I was sitting in the back seat of the car and saying, Mom, please, how can you do this? How can you go to this ministry and talk to them? Oh, honey, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's going to be fine. And then sometimes when she would get absolutely fed up with me, she'd turn around and say, why don't you jump in the lake and catch fish? Like, okay, I'll jump in the lake and catch fish. Because, and she used to say that in English. We were talking Parsi, but this phrase of hers was in English.
You know, people are saying that, I mean, now there are peace in
Yes,
Afghanistan,
yes,
so that is the good thing.
yes, it is. Of course, it's a good thing. Thank God there is no war. But at the same time, I'm saying peace is not lack of fighting, is not stopping the guns and shooting and throwing bombs. That's not, when that stops, that's not peace. Peace only comes when everybody that they are on the other side, when they were at war, they find themselves in that peace. They have to find their part, their happiness, their contribution, everything. They have to find themselves. Now, if in a country of 40 million, 20 million of them are women, and those 20 million women don't count as human beings, you call that peace? Really? Is it still peace? Because nobody is actually shooting each other officially on the streets and destroying them? How about if they're not let to go to school? How about if they're not let to do the work? How about if they're not capable to feed their families? Not all the women in Afghanistan have a husband. There's a lot of widows in this land. What happens to those widows? Don't you think that the government should look after all of them? Should give them equal rights so they can take part in building their country? We are all Muslims. There's a lot of Islamic countries in the world. We are not the only one. We are not the first nor the last. What happens in Indonesia? Look at the way the women are working in Indonesia. Look at the way the women are working in Pakistan, our neighbor. Look at the way the women are in Iran. Look at the way the women are in North Africa. Look at the way the women are in Egypt, in Syria, everywhere. They're all Islamic countries. So what? So this is what it is. A peace is not only because nobody's killing it. That should be very clear. Lack of shooting in war is not peace.
You just mentioned the widows. It just makes me ask you like one of the final questions. Like, if you're a widow in Afghanistan and you don't have a husband, and there are
You're
laws
dead.
saying that you have to be accompanied by a man
You're
when you go
dead.
on the streets, well, how do they manage?
You're dead. You're dead. You're gone. You're the most miserable. You're the most unbelievably impoverished, destroyed woman on the face of the earth. You are. It's gone. And those are some of the women that I've been keeping, with the help of Allah, I've been keeping them alive. With the money and help that I'm sending. And it's been going on for the past 5 years. There is not much I can do anymore.
No, no.
I'm really drained. I'm completely drained.
Yeah.
It's been a while. It's been a long year since
Yes.
2003. Honey, I'm in Afghanistan and doing this, one way or another. 2003, long time, 23 years. And then there's another thing I just wanted to mention. There are some people in this world that I happen to be one of them. That for us, like I kept on telling to my sister that that we are like I told my sister asked me a long time ago, that why don't you come back to why don't you come to the US and all? And I said, no, honey, because apart from the fact that I have I have a commitment, and I've promised people that I will look after them, and I'm doing all of this. At the same time, I'm the kind of person that if my life does not have any meaning to it, if I'm not doing something that is meaningful, I feel like I'm wasted.
Mm-hmm.
I'm one of those. I really am. I feel like I'm wasted. And I hate that. Because I don't believe God created us for us to be wasted. That's not what Allah created us. We're created by Allah to be people that we are taking our part in the society, doing our thing, doing our work. I am a Muslim, and I still am a Muslim, and I want to be a Muslim, die a Muslim, and worship my Allah, and then be a good human being, and do something that my good has to come out of me to others. That's what I believe in. Otherwise, if I don't do that, then what's the point? That means I've really taken up space that actually belongs to somebody else, and the air that I'm breathing actually belongs to somebody else. I'm taking over the room and the house and the place of somebody. No, I don't want to do that. And I hope that God will take my life one day while I'm just like this and talking and walking and all of that, boom, and ends. That's what I really like.
In many, many, many years, and you really have to remember and tell yourself that you have done more than what you could do, more than what you were expected to do. And I'm sure that your mother, wherever she is very, very proud of you.
Hopefully she's looking and she's saying, Mahbouba, my prayers are with you. I hope.
And our prayers are with you, Mahbouba Jan. And I really hope that you get a good trip to the US, and that you finish off in a way that you take Kabul, Jan, with you in your heart, the mountains, the smell, the love, and the warmth. And I really hope that you will get some time to recharge yourself and calm down and be with your loved ones, because you deserve that.
Absolutely. And something else I just wanted to add on, and I'm not saying this as a complaint at all, but this is also a part of my life. The news of me leaving Afghanistan came out, and some of the like Radio Omu or whatever, and Afghanistan International, which is a television, they announced it. And then from their announcement, because they have a lot of people that are part of their, they're listening to Afghanistan International and they're commenting, there was about 1,000 comments after that announcement of theirs. And these 1,000 comments, not one of them was positive towards me. Not one. No.
What did the comments say?
Nasty things. Nasty things. Nasty things. And it's like, okay, so this is the way that the Afghans are saying thank you.
Mahbouba Jan, remember that those people who did the comments do not represent all Afghans, because you have made such a difference for thousands of girls and women, and they all will, send you love throughout their life, and you're being indebted to you. So I know it's hard when people, you feel that, okay, I've done all this, but remember, these are just like, people who are crazy. And you know that, of course, but it must be so tough.
I do. But at the same time, and I really never listened to these things, honestly. And I told my secretary, actually, I said, honey, look and see what it is. And she looked at it and she read it all. And she told me 1,000. And I said, how was it? Was it anything in it that, would be? She said 1,000 of them, they were all negative.
Well, yeah, someone is writing something very truthful here. Those comments must mean that you did something good.
And I thought to myself, must be that.
No, I mean, because of course it was all those who hate you. Because of course, when you speak out for women's rights, you get
right.
haters. Let them
That's right.
yell. You know, as my mother, who is from Pakistan, says, there's a saying, you also have it in Afghanistan, let the dog bark.
Yeah, we have the same saying. And also, I don't know if you know about that. You know that I was nominee for the Nobel Peace Prize.
Yes, and you deserve
23.
that.
And the Nobel Peace Prize, I didn't get it again because of this, the same bunch of people.
This is unbelievable. But you know what?
Unbelievable.
In our hearts, you already have the Nobel Peace Prize because I mean, you can call Trump. You know, Trump might discuss with you whether he deserves it.